Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Logan and Jacob from XP to level 3. It's kind of catchy, it rhymes,
Yeah,
rolls right off the tongue.
we went through like 14 different names before we got that, I think.
I'm hanging out with Logan and Jacob, and I'm hearing myself somewhere. Where am I hearing?
Too. Is
It's kind of
that?
catchy.
Oops.
There we go.
Sorry, I had it open on my computer. I was watching the stream, like getting ready for it, and I had it open still, so it was like double audio. Sorry about that.
No worries, happens all the time.
Oh
Essentially.
yeah, lots of problems all the time.
It's all right. It's just one of those things about doing it live.
Oh yeah, totally.
So you guys have a fairly new YouTube channel, but you guys are kicking ass over there. Is one of the things I noticed, and that's why I invited you guys on. And I think it was hard to track you guys down too.
Really? I mean, yeah, we're kind of small, and we don't really we haven't really put ourselves like crazy out there yet. Like we've just been like, here we go.
I think we had a Facebook for like 2 weeks, and then we just didn't use it.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to us, you emailed us, and that was cool. We were able to get to that. So
yeah, I don't even remember how I figured out how to email you guys, but eventually I did track you guys down. I'm like, these guys are kind of kicking ass over there. What they're doing is pretty cool. So let me figure out how to get them on here.
Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so you said you've only, your channel, you've only been doing this for about a year and a half. You guys have 27,000 subscribers. You're putting out, a decent amount of content. It's, it's produced well. It's fun to watch. So,
oh, well, yeah, it's been a fun ride. I uploaded, I used to upload like a long time ago, just like whatever, just like little things like music videos and stuff like 4 years ago. And it was like my personal channel until I started getting into D&D, and I was like, you know what? My first idea was like, I want to make a video. It's called D&D Tips, Character Motivation. And I'm really sick of people making characters. I really like the inspiration for our channel was just like, I'm so mad at people.
Rage, fueled by pure rage.
Yeah, and I was really like, I was fed up with people making characters who weren't like no, it wasn't about characters. It was about dungeon masters. It was about dungeon masters not making their worlds built for other people. They're not going in with player buy-in, which is what a lot of people call it now. I called it character motivation, and I was just like, if you make a D&D campaign, you need to make sure that your players are going to be able to be in the world with it. You can't just like make a world and be like, well, make whatever you want because it's not really going to matter. Like you suck. Like, don't do that. You need to make sure you're like, all right, what's your backstory? What's your backstory? Cool. You have a parent, you have a dad, they live here. I'm going to make sure they come into the campaign later down here. Maybe my bad guy kills them. Like you all these different things you can get your characters to be like motivated to play your game. And that was like the first thing I ever wanted to upload. And people were like, hey, this is good advice. And I was like, oh, okay. So I made another one, and I made another one. And then I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to make a stupid video where I make fun of Rogue because rogues are stupid. I don't think rogues are stupid. I just want to make a video making fun of them. Yeah. So we uploaded that, and that got a bunch of views. And we were like, whoa, this is cool. And it was like 8,000 views. And we were like, oh, okay.
It was probably like 9,000 comments of how you're wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There were so many people who were like, well, actually Rogue is like one of the coolest classes. And we're like, we were doing satire. Like we were supposed to make fun of it.
I kind of did the same thing with my videos, which are a lot more tame, I think. The first one that I made was the planes, because we never use the planes, and they're so freaking complicated that no one knows what they are or how to use them as a DM. So I'm like, I'm just gonna make this, and then I forgot the city of doors.
Oh my God. Everybody's commenting like, you forgot the city of doors. And we're like, there's no city of doors in the DM's guide.
No, it is, but it's like really tiny, and it's not as bolded as the rest of them.
Whatever. People are always pointing out whenever we make mistakes. It's really funny. Like in my last video, I put +2 to strength on kobolds instead of -2. And I was just like, I'm sorry. I know. But anyways, we started uploading more and more, and we put out some videos, and we were just like, well, this is just like a side thing. And so we're working. And then later in November of last year, in 2017, I left and went to BlizzCon or whatever. I came back, and all of a sudden we had like 10,000 plus subscribers.
Yeah, we were at, I think, 2,000 subs at the beginning of the month. And it was either like September, November, or October. Yeah. I think it was November. we just bumped up to like 7,000.
Yeah, it was crazy. Going. And then it kept going and going and going. And I was like, oh crap, I'm going to make a video I had an idea for that I was thinking about while I was at work. And it was just like categorizing the classes and making them easier for new people to understand. And I uploaded that and that freaking exploded with like a ton of views. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And we just got a bunch of subscribers and it's been like that ever since. And we've been really careful with what we want to upload. Now we're like, all right, let's do this and see if people like that. All right. Not really. And so yeah, it's been really fun ever since then, and we're really enjoying the community and everybody else. It's been awesome.
What are your favorite types of videos to make for each of you?
Oh man, the series that I'm working on, I have one out now. It was the first one, so it wasn't as good as the rest are going to be. But in the beginning of the DM's guide, there's a little thing that's like what type of players are going to be in your, like what type of play styles. And there's like people who like to kick in the door and just run through the dungeon and don't want to do like talk to any NPCs. They just want to kill things and get loot. And then there are like intrigue players. So I'm making a list of like 8 different videos that goes into detail about each one of those players and how they're how they affect the game, how the DM can handle them, what they can do for the DM to make the game more fun. And they're just as stupid as the rest of the more silly videos.
Logan's very much a writer. He's got like so many scripts on like our Google Drive that he's just like, well, I wrote like 4 scripts this week on videos that we can make.
Like 50 on backlog.
Yeah. So like Logan can edit and he does edit, but he's not an editor. He's very much like a writer. He's got all these documents and stuff like that. Where in which like I'm the exact opposite. I'm much more like a director. I see the idea of the video and I want to make it. I don't have like all these documents of things that I want to make. But you're like the psychologist of our channel. You're like, why do players do this? And how can you overcome it? And I'm over here like,
man, I hate rogues.
Warlocks are stupid. Yeah. This is why. And it's like, I really like making how to play videos. They take a lot of work and a lot of time.
They're really stressful to make, which is why they're so hard to put out.
Right.
And every video that we make, no matter what it's about, no matter how important it was for us to make, there's always going to be like 6 people. When's the next how to play?
Oh my gosh. Every time we upload, everybody's just like, are you guys going to make how to play Sorcerer next? And I'm like, all right.
We want to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let this be a statement then. We really, really want to. They are hard to make. And to be honest, we're the only ones making the videos. Yeah. I edit everything. He helps. So, especially with the how to play videos. And I'm the script writing is really difficult because I always want it to be funny and I want it to be fresh and I want it to be things like that. So I oftentimes like how to play Warlock had like I rewrote it like 4 times because I didn't like it. And it was like there was a lot that goes into those videos, but man, I love the way they come out. I love filming them and I love putting them out there because I really like putting humor into Dungeons and Dragons because I think it's really fun, and just being able to be satirical about it is just really interesting.
Is that how you basically run your games as well?
I do like to be funny in my games. A big thing I really like to do in my games is I really like to make the main spotlight in my games is the character interaction. So my favorite points in times in D&D isn't the combat, isn't the rolls, isn't like stealthing into the castle or things like that. It's when the characters all walk into like a merchant, like a shop, and the merchant is there and he's a gnome and he has half his hair cut off and he's got like one eye missing and he's like, hey, hello. And all the players are like, oh man. And they're all talking to each other about this guy. And they'll be like, can we have like a healing potion? And he's like, okay, sure. And he turns around, he pees into a bottle and he's like, here you go. And they're like, I feel like we should drink that. I don't think we should drink that. Oh, you should really drink it. Like those are the parts of D&D that I really, really like. And they tend to be kind of funny. Like
the gnomes that cure all.
Yeah, that's an actual thing in my game. Yeah. We call it, what is it called? Golden milk. It requires a lot of special ingredients from one special gnome who eats these ingredients and then pees out a perfect healing potion. My games are a little weird, yeah. But
I'm not going to argue with you there.
Yeah, but I do bring a lot of humor to the table. But
if you watch some of the D&D stories, the stuff that us as players and him as a DM let us do.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I really like to invoke an amount of seriousness into my D&D games, but it's like we can't help it. In the end, there's always going to be some joke or ridiculous thing that's going to come out of it. So, I mean, yeah, now that I think about it, I think it does really play a lot into our D&D
And
games.
I think because of all like the writing practices that I do when I DM, I'm DMing pre-written the Tomb of Annihilation.
So much fun.
It's a great game.
So much fun.
I like to use the little things, like the funny little encounters that happen early in the game, and use them as foreshadowing points later on. Like one of them had a druidic ability, or they had a spell scroll that let them commune with nature. So they spoke to a toad named Ted, who found where the fire.
My dwarven barbarian decided to speak to a toad named Ted. Yeah.
the flame spire, the finger or something.
I used him to like go scout. I was like,
Yeah,
all right,
he
little
just went to
toad, go
scout.
get him. And he was like, okay. And he went all the way forward and he scouted like this thing, and then he left and he was gone forever.
Yeah.
And then
Well, no, he came back and like he told them everything that they needed to know.
Oh,
and
right.
They fed him flies and then he vanished.
He's like, we made a friend that day. We made a friend named Ted the Toad.
So what happened?
But he
later-
vanished, so now you're sad.
I unintentionally, I was supposed to make a dungeon. It's not a kind game to run for a DM because there's all these little mine points on the map, and I'm looking through everything in the book, like what's in these mines. I got to make a dungeon on the fly.
Mhm.
So I was freaking out, and I like rolled everything, made this dungeon, and there was a bullet at the end.
We're like level like three.
Three or four.
And it's
And
really
challenge rating 5.
It's
so you
challenge
should
rating
beat
5,
that.
but like bullets are
Yeah.
nasty. They're so deadly.
So I TPK'd.
Oh yeah, we all died.
I think there were 3 or 4 of you, and I had both the NPCs because they've got a level 5 or challenge rating 5 gladiator with them,
He didn't
And
come
then-
with us.
and then the where
Hey, Logan, can you scooch up just a little bit and get a
Yeah.
little bit closer to the mic?
There you go.
and there was a were-tiger guide, so they could have just destroyed everything in that dungeon if they brought the NPC. So I'm like, they're gonna go scout, and then everyone died. So I was like, man, what do I do? Flipping back through my notes, and I found Ted the Toad. So Ted the Toad spoke to the were-tiger and was like, hey, your friends are in trouble. And they came back and rescued the party.
So we came back to life and we woke up and it was just like, Ted saved you. And I was like, who? And he was like, Ted the Toad. And I was like, from 3 games ago. It was so ridiculous. It was so dumb. But like that sense of ridiculous always just plays into our games.
Yeah, I like interjecting things like that. One of the players of my game, one of their characters has a singing mushroom.
That's
dude.
awesome.
I totally ripped it off from Trolls. But wait a minute, you guys probably have no idea what I'm fucking talking about. Never
No,
mind.
what?
No, I haven't seen that. Was it good?
That's because it's a movie that came out in the 80s.
Oh,
The
Trolls.
old. There's like a new Trolls that came out. I didn't see some like
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that.
So I want to jump in the chat a little bit, pull out some questions. They're getting a little restless. Shaman wants to know, what resources do you use for inspiration? Do you have any recommendations, recommended reads for DMs?
Okay, my favorite as a DM, I am building a world that's massive that I want to play, maybe and stream later when I have everything set up. What I like to do is go into folklore on Wikipedia. Just look up everything that I can, like all the origins for gnomes, which are supposed to be fairies and elves at the same time. It's ridiculous, but there's a bunch of like little stuff if you just click on the highlights and just run through things, a bunch of folklore. It's really fun to find out. And then like folkloric stories, eventually you can base an encounter on something like that.
Yeah. Are we talking inspiration for like D&D games?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. I watch Lord of the Rings. I go watch Lord of the Rings and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get myself into the fantasy mood and I'm just going to get ready and I'm just going to write like some adventure.
He plays a lot of Witcher too.
And I go play like some video game. Like I go play Skyrim or I go play Witcher. I'm not just for a little bit, just to get some inspiration. Just be like, okay, I'm going to just do a quest. And I'll be like, all right. I'm in the mood. I'm just going to go write and I'm going to put everything down. And it's like, there we go. I got a quest idea. And it's, I mean, if you want to watch other campaigns, I sometimes go and watch like Critical Role on YouTube. Just watching them just play is just like, that just inspires you, or at least me, a lot, just to see them playing and like actually doing certain things. The fact that there's like a lot of live D&D on YouTube and Twitch right now is just really great because you can go get like so many ideas from it. Just like go and watch it and just like get some ideas. If you're not any of those types of people, I'm a very visual kind of person. I really like to like see things and experience them, and that's like how I get my inspiration. Like sometimes I'll just go on Pinterest and I'll just look up fantasy inspiration, and I'll just scroll down. I'll be like, oh, that's an elf, and he looks like he casts blood magic. That would be awesome. And then I go into the DM's guide, and the DM's guide just has so many awesome things in it, like resources, and be like, adventure introduction. Okay, roll on that. If the villain has to kill a druid in order to gain a magic item, and it's like, okay, this is awesome. This is the start to a quest. So honestly, if we're talking about reads, the Dungeon Master's Guide is for real, like a big one. But going off of what Logan said, like ancient folklore and like Celtic and like Cthulhu, like Lovecraft and stuff like that, that's like that will really get your inspiration juices flowing, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's like life inspires me. I like headlines in the news. I one of the videos we did, I don't even remember what it was about. All I remember is I was on my way to filming and was behind this like U-Haul or something, and there was like, or a van, and there was just something written on the back, and it turned into a video about D&D somehow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Another time, like I was listening to Car Talk on NPR, and they're like, "Don't let the junkyard harpies get you." And I was like, "Oh my god, that needs to be a thing. We need junkyard harpies in our world."
That's so cool. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, inspiration just comes from everywhere. So Sam R doesn't have a question, but it's more of a statement. And he says, I wish I could do a D&D channel. Well, the question is, what's stopping you? I know for us, we started with an iPhone and an external mic. So literally it was a thing I already owned. And we went out and bought the mic. And I think Mr. Tarask, who does really good videos, does them on his phone.
My first lick of advice for that is don't step on our turf.
No.
I will cut you, man. I will cut you.
Please.
I think because I get a lot of friends like who are starting out as musicians and starting out as writers and stuff. Just do it. Like it's really easy to give up when like you're trying to figure out those miniature steps, but there's always a workaround and there's always a way to keep moving forward. And when you have that first video out and you get the first couple of people who are like, when's the next Outplay coming out? And then you're just like, hey, comments. And then you can use that as more inspiration to move forward, make more videos. Just make a video about whatever. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't, because anything that you make as an artist is not going to be good in your eyes.
If you have the dedication and you have to create, if you think you have the creativity to make something interesting that people are going to like, you should make it. And that's where we started, and that's where a lot of people started. If you whenever I tell people that we make YouTube videos, the first thing they always say is oh, I could do that. I'm going to make a YouTube channel. And I'm like,
but you're not doing that.
Well, I don't say that. They just gets them inspired to go do it. So I tell them, if you have a personality, I think that's a really big thing, is like you can sit in front of a camera and just talk like a robot, but I don't think it'll play off very well. But
you gotta dial it up.
Right, exactly. But I mean, to people who are just like, oh, I don't really have a personality. Yes, you do. Everybody has a personality, as long as you are confident in your abilities. If you can sit in front of the microphone and passionately talk about something in front of a camera, you will get an audience. And I think that's my advice to people who want to create a YouTube channel on anything, is if you're passionate and if you're confident and you're determined, you can do it.
Now that I'm looking at it, this totally does look like a blackboard.
Yeah, right.
When I first got on with the guys, I thought they were maybe in a classroom or something behind them. It looked like a blackboard with stuff.
We're in a ghetto household with $900 rent.
Yeah, we have like tan walls that we hide. Yeah.
Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and the main thing is just get out there and do it. If you have it in you to do something, put it out there, and just keep working at it if it's important to you, and enjoy the process. Just know going in, like having a YouTube channel and being successful at it is a lot of work.
It takes work.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that it's hard. It's just that you have to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It can get hard at certain times, but like stopping is what makes it hard for everyone.
The hardest part is continuing to do it. Like making a video is hard. Yes, making a video is difficult. It's not as hard as, you know, working labor for 8 hours, but the hard part is going after you make that video to go, okay, now I need to make another video. Now I need to make another video. Now I need to make another video, and coming up with more and more and more ideas, and really just stay determined, stay passionate.
So Sam wants to know about do you guys have favorite monsters for 5e?
Yes, I do.
Man. So many.
I'll go first because it's easy for me. Oh my gosh, I am a huge personal fan of oozes. When I first played, we first started playing 3.5. I opened up the monster manual and I was just like, okay, there's dragons, there's beholders, there's dinosaurs. Is that Jello?
Oh, there's always room for Jello.
Eaten by Jello. And I came up with this really neat concept. I saw some art on Pinterest or something, and it was like this room, and all it is just this cubes of colorful of like gelatin everywhere. And as you look closer, you can see corpses inside of them, and I was like, that's awesome. So gelatinous cubes, and they're so hilarious because their armor class is like 5 or 6, and I'm like, they're so easy to hit, but you hit them with your sword and it's like and your sword's gone, and they are just so much fun. And black pudding split in a bunch of pieces. Gray oozes can hide in walls.
Yeah, they're easy to hide.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like perfect. Like dragons are cool. I love dragons. Beholders are super fun. I love beholders. But it's the mild annoyance of a gelatinous cube that is just like, I love the fact that it's just like,
it's just a living trap.
Yeah, it's like plorp, and the players are like, gosh dang it, a freaking gelatinous cube. Like, they're not gonna die to it, but it's so inconvenient to them, and it's just really funny. I just think they're really, really interesting, and they're really fun to use, and players never expect them either.
Yeah. I think I have 2 favorites. My favorite for a long time running, I think, because my first inspiration for liking them was watching the season 2 finale of Adventure Time with the Lich. It was either season 1 or 2, but Liches have always been my favorite because it's like this ancient. They're not always evil, like they don't have to be. They're just really old undead that keep their sentience. Mm-hmm. So you can have them be anything, but they just know everything. So they're really fun to play with. You can have them, like you had like a Lich who was like a 12-year-old kid or something that was trapped as a Lich and never.
Oh, yeah.
And then for a while back, I was trying to figure out a way to make a video game, and programming's impossible. But I had an idea for a game called Lich Tower, which you like played as a mini boss in a video game and fought the main player. And it's really fun to develop a Lich. And then my second favorite would have to be the whole Mind Flayer community. Just Mind Flayers are awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to be a Lich, you got to feed your phylactery souls every year, right?
Yeah, but okay. So I have, for a while he was a Lich, I had Ladro, one of the main characters that I played, but he was a king of a region of the Feywild, and demons invaded. So as a horrible, amazing character that he trapped like a set of 20 of these demons and forced them to just keep repopulating, and he would just go down there and grab a soul from a newborn demon every once in a while.
He had a character that became a Lich, and it was ridiculous.
You can steal evil souls if you're not good.
He was a rabbit folk too. He was a bunny. He was a little bunny rogue arcane trickster Lich, and it was crazy. And he had a top hat that he had put that was a disguise hat that he had put a bag of holding into, so he could just like store things in his hat and pull them out. It was a fun concept.
Look, I'm just saying, I don't think that will fly with the Geneva Conventions. Okay.
No, it would not. But he didn't let them know. So yeah, the Seelie and the Unseelie court, he's under the umbrella, below the radar.
He's no longer a Lich anymore, though. He was granted immortality, but his Lichdom was removed.
I'm really digging Nothics in 5e.
Nothics?
Yes.
Oh shoot, which one?
Those are the things with like the one big eye that can.
Yeah,
read.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they can they can smell magic and they can track magic, and they used to
Yeah.
be wizards and they were
I
cursed.
haven't used those enough.
They're
really
like
cool.
they're like tricksters. Yeah, they're I've only encountered one when Colton ran the starter set, the Lost Mines of Phandelver, and there's one in there. And we were like, what the heck is this thing? And I'm like, I know the monster manual. Oh, I don't know what this is. And it really took me off guard.
And then it starts melting your face with it.
I know, right? We're just like, I don't know what this is. And he was like pretending to be like certain things. He was like getting into our minds.
Yeah,
and like
it gets to like learn your bonds, traits, and flaws. And
yes,
stuff.
yeah. It really plays into like your character and like their fears and stuff. They are really cool. Nothics are awesome.
We have like we have chaos storms in our world, and then once they go through, we have prospectors that like chase them, like storm chasers, and they harvest like the magic that's left behind. And so, I had one of the adventures. It turns out that the one group was using a Nothic to track the storms.
Oh.
That because they can track magic.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
So I just thought they're fun. So Underwood Sketches says favorite race class combo. Let's get this out of the way now.
Oh, we've never talked about this. Well, it's easy for me. My favorite race combo that have to go together.
Well, just
whatever you want.
What do you like a halfling bard? I figure.
Well, yeah, that's Bard is my favorite class by far. I think they're the right amount of ridiculous, and it's just a lot of fun that they can be like fighters, but they're also support, but they're playing songs at the same time. So it's just like, a cleric is like, I will heal you with my power, and I'm off in the corner like, yeah, well, dinky 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 ding, and now you're back to full health, and it's like that's so much fun. And my main character I play a lot. His name is Jace Idane. That's this guy right here who's in the background a lot. He's my picture for a lot of online stuff, and I played him for a long time. And he's he's a human bard of valor, and he's got a low wisdom and a high charisma, and that leads to a lot of walking into the bad guy's fort, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just here to tour around." And they're like, "No, you need to get out of here." And I'm like, "Are they close to me? Are they close to me? Are they close to me?" Thunderwave. And it's like that's how I play him, and it's just like, okay, now we're gonna like he's ridiculous. But if I'm gonna go by favorite race and class combo, I have to say halfling bard. Halflings are awesome. I love everything that halflings are. Like I like hobbits and Lord of the Rings. I relate to them as like a person a lot, like how their characteristics are and things like that. And bard's my favorite class, and they go along with each other really well. So I'm pretty conventional. Just halfling bard. It's a lot of fun.
I don't think I have one. Like,
are you serious?
I've played everything like twice,
I know.
and it's all a lot of fun. I think maybe sorcerer is probably my favorite, like main book class, and then for race, probably gnome.
Oh yeah, gnomes are
with Xanathar's Guide to Everything. The next character that I really want to make is a gnome druid of the Shepherd Circle, just because you get to be like a gnome who wants to experience everything, and you bring the whole freaking forest with you.
I pretty much like playing Mountain Dwarf anything.
Especially dude, you got the beard for it, man.
Especially in 5e.
Yeah,
Mountain Dwarf with anything that doesn't wear armor is great.
Oh, dude.
Totally.
Mountain Dwarf Monk is really is cool.
A Mountain Dwarf Monk.
Yeah.
Just like punch. You're just like small and you just punch. That's awesome. I never thought about that. That's so cool.
But I'm like Logan. I like playing all the different things, so I'm all over the place. Although I do have to resist playing like a different version of a dwarf. So like my go-to.
Hazer, I think.
Yeah.
We're actually we have one game that's is forming up right now, and right now we are like 9 halflings away from a reverse Lord of the Rings party.
That's awesome.
We got 3 halflings and a dwarf. So
oh my gosh. We just need an elf, a half elf, a wizard.
Well, I should say Hobbit party. I mean, or from the Hobbit.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Oh, okay, gotcha. That's awesome.
So that's probably going to be a lot of fun. Kels has a question. This is a rules question. Created a fighter with sharpshooter and crossbow expert. I was hoping to create a dual hand crossbows. However, I had a player tell me ammunition rule would cause issues here, and your other player is actually correct. Unfortunately, you can fire the first round, you can fire dual crossbows, but after that, you need to load them. So you need a hand crate.
Okay. Because I've read up a lot of rules, and I know how to twist and break the rules because it's a lot of fun to ruin the game. What I would do is have a familiar or an animal companion or something on the sidelines that you can throw your second crossbow at and have it reload while you shoot the first one. You reload that one and just juggle them. Or just keep shooting the same.
Yeah, I mean, you could have 2 crossbows. You can hold 2 and shoot 2. That's fine. Well, yeah, the loading is the part that's bad. Because they're loading, they take a round to load just one, and you have to have both hands to load them.
Well, that's the problem. I think
crossbow expert gets around that. So you can keep firing, like your rate of fire comes right back up. And matter of fact, with the crossbow expert, you can actually use your bonus action to get another shot.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the problem is, I have a couple of gobelos that use hand crossbows. But the problem is, you just can't do 2 at the same time. You would get the same attacks.
Play a Gorillon or
a Gorillon with 4 arms.
That's right. You got problems. We got solutions. Let's play a Gorillon.
That's gonna be my next bad guy. Is a Gorillon with crossbows.
With 4 hand crossbows.
He can just reload them with his other hand.
Like a snake fiend, the lady with like 6 arms or something.
Yeah.
No, you should have it have 4 arms and 4 crossbows, and then have minions that it chucks them to.
Yes, exactly. Or just have like a machine, like a belt that holds the crossbows on them, and then
you might need a bandana and a stogie as well.
We'll call him the Gatlin Gorillon.
We'll get Matthew Mercer to voice him like McCree. I own these woods.
I'm sure he's been waiting for that role all his life.
Yes, he is.
He like pulls out a dusty player sheet, like blows it off the Gatling Gorilla.
I'm ready to play. Oh man.
D&D, man. D&D. So Daniel has a question. I'm running a naval campaign. The players are 3rd level, and I need some ideas for adventures. Already drawing on inspiration from the Odyssey and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Cool.
You got 9,000 leagues beneath the sea. There's all kinds of stuff you get there.
All right. The new race, Tritons, I think. They could be a whole quest in themselves, because what they are is they're like sea-dwelling elves who are protecting the material plane from creatures, like enemies that are escaping the elemental plane of water. So you could bring in a whole little adventure that involves Tritons. I suggest reading about them because they have their own mannerisms, and the party might not like how dickish they are. But I think it'd be fun to throw like 3rd level. You can't do aboleth unless you hate your players. So I don't know
so much.
Jeez. I don't know. There's a lot of water elementals.
Yeah, I mean, just being on the ocean just adds a whole level of depth to encounters in combat. You can really do anything. Like
sunken ships are always fun. Like air pockets and stuff.
I mean, I've already got an idea. You have like a ship that's off in the distance. This is like This is like classic pirate tactic. A ship that's off in the distance, it's burning. And so if the party's like good aligned, he'll be like, "Oh crap, we gotta save the people that's on it," or whatever. At least it'll draw attention. While the party is doing that, you could have like pirates on skiffs that move towards the ship to try to take it, and it's like that's an encounter that the party can deal with as well. Or
you could
getting marooned is really fun too, and the party has to survive on an island,
like a Lovecraftian thing. I think
just pull Cthulhu out of the water.
No, in Call of Cthulhu, he's on a boat, I think, and he sees like another boat that has no one on it but one guy who's gone insane, and he's like screaming at him, telling him to leave, and then like aberrations come out and try to attack him. There's a lot you can do if you.
The guy said he took some inspiration from the Odyssey, and one of my favorite parts of the Odyssey is when They go by the harpies, I think, or the sirens. And Odysseus wants to hear the siren song because it's so enticing. You have to plug your ears so that you don't leave. So they tie him to the post of the ship so that he can hear the siren song. And all of his men plug their ears, and he's like, all right, whatever happens, make sure I don't leave the ship. And they sail by, and he's like, let me go, let me go. And he's like, he freaks out because he wants to go to the sirens so badly. And like, that's such an awesome concept, just to have like, and we're sailing this way. Ooh, there's a pretty song over here, and that's fun.
I really like the idea of the burning ship, and because it's D&D and there's magic, it doesn't actually have to really be on fire. It just could be illusion.
That's right. It's bandits with a druid.
It'd be like an illusionist wizard.
You could cast hallucinatory terrain.
And then the Triton idea is also really great because maybe the Tritons are there protecting an area and they're really doing the right thing because that's what they do. But like you said, they're all jerks. They're like they're all like lawful stupid paladin race. And so they're going to be kind of obnoxious to people and try and drive them off. And then the players will think they're like the bad guys. And then maybe they accidentally kill them all and then realize that they're actually really good. And then they release Cthulhu.
Heck yeah.
The one way to make good guys look like bad guys is just imprison the party. That's a really good way to do it. That'll just they will hate them so much.
Or don't.
Yeah. They're like, we're just protecting the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're trying to protect this thing over here. I mentioned it in my what race should you play video, but I'll bring it up again. Wave is another inspirational idea for you if you want to bring into the campaign a kind of magic item. Wave is in the DM's guide. It's a trident that only can be attuned to people who worship the sea god, and she's
is legendary though.
It
you
is.
said his party's at level 3, so I think maybe you could like.
I didn't mean give it to them. I meant make it as a part of the story. So the Tritons are like defending Wave or something like that, and so it's like this. It's like an all powerful item. And it can like sing, it can like do different things, it can control water and fish and things like that. So it's a really, and it's also sentient too. So it's a really interesting item.
So let's see. There's a really good question. See how I'm back wants to know what are your homebrew rules if you have any?
Ooh, I got a lot.
A lot of really subtle ones, I think.
A big one I do is my inspiration homebrew rules because I love inspiration because we started D&D with 3.5 and then we moved to 5th edition and we'll never go back. But inspiration is amazing. I think it really just encourages people to role play and it's really, really fun. I don't like how it's done in the normal 5th edition like default rules. And the default 5th edition rules, you can only have one inspiration, and that inspiration you spend before you roll to have an advantage. And that's cool. I am a big supporter of natural 1s and natural 20s. I really, really like it when people roll and they roll a natural 1. That's an automatic failure. Like you have failed. Like, I don't care if you have a plus 20, like you failed. And that goes for my monsters too. If they roll 1s, they fail too. And I think that's a really...
well, what we do with those and with natural 20s is they're not just automatic, they're tragic for whoever is on the receiving end of the negative.
Yeah.
So like you crit with a natural 20 and then you kind of get to decide how you crit. And then when you roll a natural 1, you're either like, you're going to take a bit of a failure where you swing your weapon and it hits a rock and it shatters, or you hurt an ally, or the rock, it digs into the rock, like you trip and fall.
What inspiration does is it really removes the idea. So first of all, when I first started playing, I did a homebrew rules like you can have as many inspirations as you want. Like, well, if I give you like 5, you can have 5. And so you can spend those throughout the game because I don't want it to be like, all right, I got my 1 inspiration and I have no need to role play anymore. It's like, I still want to encourage you to role play. So I let my players have over 1 type of inspiration. And then I started noticing that people started using inspiration after they rolled. So it became more of a thing like, all right, I'm going to do this. Oh, I rolled a 1 inspiration and using inspiration. I'd be like, you can't use inspiration like that. And then it caused like some problems. People are just like, well, that's dumb. Then inspiration's just kind of useless. And it's like, okay, so I need to change the rules in inspiration. So the way I do it in my game now is you can have up to 5 at a time, up to 5 inspirations at one time, and inspirations level with you like a bardic inspiration. Instead of it giving you advantage, and instead gives you a, if you're level 10, I think it's a D8 inspiration that you can add to your dice. So, and you can choose to do it after the fact before I'm telling you if you've hit or not. So if you're like, okay, I really, really, really want to hit the monster, I roll, you get a 5 and your bonus is 3. You can be like, all right, I'm going to add my D8 inspiration, and you roll your D8 and you add that to your roll. It gets rid of the fact of people are basically aren't rolling natural ones. And I feel like it adds way more of a bonus to your roll. You actually feel like you're getting a significant bonus rather than I might do good with an advantage roll, other than like, nope, you are getting a bonus to your roll with your inspiration.
I also like using strength for intimidation. I think that should just be part of the game.
Strength as a part of your intimidation. Yeah.
We also stack inspiration as well.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of like minor things like that. We've taken the Dragonborn breath weapon is useless after a certain point, and it is the only thing to get.
Yeah.
So like we've made that a bonus action instead of a standard action.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's always something cool they can do. It's like after level 5, pretty much if you're a Dragonborn, you have something better to do than your breath weapon, probably.
2d6. Like it's just like lame. Yeah. That's a neat idea. I like that one. Another one I've just recently started doing, which some people like, and I think it's pretty interesting, is but it's probably a little controversial because people really don't like it when the Dungeon Master rolls player rolls. But I've started rolling for players' perceptions, stealths, and insight rolls, purely because I think the outcome of those rolls that the player can see really affects them unintentionally by metagaming. So if a player rolls a stealth roll and they roll a 5, they know they've done bad. So they try to re-stealth with a better stealth roll. And I'm like, your character wouldn't really know that they're stealthing bad. They think they're stealthing. The same goes for a perception roll. If they roll a bad perception, people are like, and I say, okay, you got a 5, you don't see anything. You don't see what you're looking for. And people are like, well, I know I rolled bad, so I better roll high. In real life, if I'm hiding behind a tree, I'm pretty sure I'm hidden. Or if I look and I don't see anything, I'm like, all right, I don't see it. Or if I insight and I don't think somebody's lying, I'm pretty sure I don't know they're lying. So what I've done recently, and my players seem to like it, is they're like, I want to roll insight. I'm like, okay, what's your bonus? I roll it and I tell them the result. And that makes it way more interesting. They're like, I don't know if we can actually trust this guy because I think he's telling the truth. You think he's lying, but we don't know what our insight rolls were. So it makes it like, it makes it more realistic on the fact of like trusting one another. Stealth is also really interesting too. The rogue is always succeeding anyways, but there are some people who are like, well, I want to hide over here. And I'm like, okay, you hide. And it's like, the bad guy's moving closer to you and closer to you. And it's like, I don't know if he can see me or not. Maybe he's coming over to check if I'm there. And it creates a sense of terror that your character would actually have if they were trying to hide from like a dragon. They're like,
I did that with the T-Rex in Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah, exactly. So I think those specific roles, those 3 make the game way more interesting if the Dungeon Master rolls them. But I mean, if you've got good enough players, I mean, it's not really a big deal. But that's a homebrew rule I started that makes it's pretty fun.
One of the players that I had in one of my games at a convention, actually, she was playing a bard and she would botch the roll every time, and, for information. So she would just make up the wrong information. So
that's awesome.
So you're really talking about is metagaming. You're trying to remove metagaming, and I like metagaming bad rolls or low stats and things like that. So where you just use it as the player to kind of disrupt the game for the players because you're just acting with the information that the character has.
That's a good player right there.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. What's the worst can happen? You can all die and start with new characters.
Yeah. What TPK by a bullet, whatever. Just like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. These things happen. So Ink Boy wants to know any tips for a new GM.
Yeah.
Read the entire DM's guide.
I don't no. That's a bad recommendation. Read it cover to cover, every word, and then you're a good dungeon master.
I think it's important that as you're starting as a DM, starting out, you'd really want to build your world for the players to experience. I think you should let them make their characters first, and then kind of build your world based on what they've built, so they enjoy it more, and you can use that to either help or hinder them. It's just more fun because you're playing with them.
Like I've said before, character motivation is a big part for new dungeon masters. when you're making your world, and I know you're excited to make your world. I know you want to make this awesome story and this awesome adventure, and that's awesome. I've been there. I've done that, and it's really, really fun to craft this idea of a story. I think Mike Merles just talked about it on a video on D&D Beyond that I loved, and I really want to send everybody to watch because he gave really, really good advice. And what he said was, I can't remember. No, he says, basically, if you want your players to be involved with your world, you have to kind of make it about them a little bit. You kind of have to send the story like towards them. Nobody wants to play. He talks about plot twists, and every dungeon master wants to make like an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist with their games, and like, nah, this is what was actually happening behind the curtain. And what Mike Merle says is he's like, that's not fun in a role-playing game. In a role-playing game, the fun is when the players figure out what's going on with your game, and it's the aha moment that makes it interesting. It's not you telling them what's going on, and that's the plot twist. The fun part is when they figure it out and they tear down the curtain and they're like, oh, we knew this was going around the whole time, and they can deal with the situation themselves. So I think for new dungeon masters, when you write your game, make a loose idea of your world. Put little places in there. Don't make the adventure yet. Then have your players make characters. Do a session 0. Be like, here's what I want from the campaign. Here's what I want to do. Here's all of this. Everybody gets together. You don't play. You just make characters. Everybody makes characters.
I have a really dumb question for you. On top of your shelf in the far corner, is that a fun key hub?
You know what? Yes, it is.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. I'm glad that was important to you.
It really was.
I'm glad that was so meaningful for you too.
I played that game. I was really young.
I know. We still have like 20 of them.
My son went through a funky phase.
Yeah, I remember trying to log back on like maybe a year after I'd played when I was younger.
Yeah.
And Hasbro shut down the servers because no one was on them, and I think I got on the helpline and I was like, hey, can I play your game? And they're like, nah.
But anyways, before the funkies, I think the biggest thing would be make your world, do a session 0 with your characters, get them to understand what's going to be in your world, and then craft a loose adventure for them to go on. Give them a hook that has to do with their backstories. Don't make a hook for the moment. Like, don't be like, suddenly the tavern you're at catches on fire. Like, okay.
Just give them a homeworld and give them a dungeon to go to.
Like,
that's all you need.
It's way more interesting if you're just like, nope, your mother was captured, and it's like my own mother that I wrote in my backstory, and it's like that's a lot of character motivation. That's really fun. So I think
the other players are like, it's not my mother. I don't care.
Yeah. I don't give a crap. Nope, all of your mothers were taken. This is the bad guy.
The mother napper.
Well, my mother was actually killed when I was young. She was brought back to life and kidnapped again. Oh! There you go. That's an inspiration for a D&D game. But
her soul is trapped.
Yes. I think for dungeon masters and GMs, start with the players, then make your world.
That is actually excellent advice. Anytime you can feed the hooks to the players that they themselves have come up with is way better.
Everyone has more fun.
Yeah, I mean the tough part with that is depending on what size the group is, but that's again like session 0 of getting the players to like have connections already instead of having to start and form them in the game itself. Now, recently someone had told me, or someone had left a comment saying that's unrealistic, and that's what they call it. They said it was forced. I'm like, the whole backstory that you come up with would be forced. Then it's the same thing. It's just saying, well, how do you know these other players? They have these other characters,
right?
And it just makes it smoother if you guys start off with a reason to be together.
Of course.
Than having the DM having to come up with a reason for 6 people that don't know each other to work together all of a sudden.
Of course.
That is actually far less reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that as a GM. Like I thought it was part of my job. Like, pre-internet when we would game, like everyone, like I would try and tie all their backstories to whatever, plot line or quest I wanted to do. And then we started getting online more and talking to other people and hearing other ideas. And I think it was Andrew Knapp who said it, or SR2 Joker. He's like, I just tell them to tell me why they're together. It puts the onus on the players and gives them the agency. I'm like, you know what? That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's I agree.
But then so the biggest piece of advice though I give to a new GM just getting started out, and it's really weak and lame, is just remember it's a game and have fun, and hopefully you're playing it with your friends or people that are going to become your friends. So, you know, the first couple times it might be a little rough and you have to figure things out, but just keep going.
You might have to metagame a little bit to make your characters like each other a little bit. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate that you can't be a lone wolf. But you know, we're all here to sit around, play some Dungeons and Dragons. We might as well just make it work, you know. So and that's gonna be way more fun than trying to make it as realistic as possible.
So the Fantasy Grounds college people are you giving out their usual invitation to come hang out with them and learn Fantasy Grounds and build characters? They're over
in the chat.
They're over on Discord.
Oh, okay.
Fantasy Ground College, and basically it's a group of volunteers that have come together to help people learn Fantasy Grounds.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
They're aggressively helpful.
That's great. That's awesome.
So they generally always ask a guest that question.
Yeah.
or offer anyway.
That's cool. That's great.
So what do you guys like better? You like DMing or playing?
Oh, I DM more than I play. I don't seem like the person that would necessarily dungeon master more. I'm not particularly like, you know, this epic story writer or things like that. But I love getting into the idea of characters and making a world, and all these players are playing inside of it. Like playing NPCs is really fun, but I also really like doing, you know, fighting monsters and doing stuff like that. And it's being a dungeon master is so much fun to me, and it's it's such a different experience from being a player. Like I feel I don't know if it's because I have a sense of control or if it's just because I can constantly shift between what I'm doing, but being a dungeon master is definitely my favorite by far. It's a lot of fun.
I really enjoy both. Like I like to make I like to play all the races, all the classes. I like versatility when playing D&D because there's so much to learn and so much to know and experience in the game. But I really like making characters, even if I don't get to play them. I really like making really unique ones, and I always have a habit of making a character with 1 to 17 companions.
Oh my gosh, every time, dude. You always have a character, and I'm so like, you have your human monk, no possible way to have companions, but he's got a bag of tricks and a griffin statue. And so it's like, oh, combat with Chai-Li.
Stone of elemental control.
Yeah, so it's like elemental griffin and 3 bears, and it's like, all right, classic Logan is back with his army.
I have a halfling necromancer who his backstory is really complicated, but basically all of his zombies and skeletons are his children's spirits that he puts back into these bodies, so he gets to take his kids on vacation. And it's hell trying to do combat because I'm standing in the back, this little like old halfling with no health, and then 20 kids running all over the place killing everything,
and they just get like destroyed. Sometimes they're just like they're gone. He's like, no, my children.
I just want to say that halfling is the worst parent ever.
Yeah. Well,
his Fantasy Dyfus would definitely show up for this.
Why do you have custody? On their souls.
Just happens. A lot of fun because you have more control, and you also let the players, like, you get to help them experience what they want to do with their characters.
I really like setting the atmosphere too. I love having like a TV with like a screen, and I'm like, this is where you are, and it's like mountains, and I play music from like Skyrim, and I'm like, bam, and this is what you hear. What are you doing? Like, I love setting up like just like an atmosphere for my players to like come into and just be like, yeah, sit down, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's like that's so much fun to me rather than just be like, oh, okay, so in page 71 it says that you go to some mountains, and it's like I really like to make you feel like you're actually there and your characters are in the moment with one another.
It's always fun to like describe the immediate area,
right?
A little bit, like just draw random ugly shapes on the map and try to figure out what you've just.
This is the map. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this
exactly.
is ruins. This is a bush, Logan. That is a 40 by 40 squiggly square.
Yeah,
it's a bush.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I prefer being a dungeon master.
So Paul Jamal and Zane Crane, they each have a question. I'm just going to kind of put them together. So the one is, would Tabaxi Claws work with Battle Master's combat maneuvers? The other one is, what do you think of spicing up combat by using skill rolls to add damage to your attacks, like a rogue scaling a monster to stab it in the eye and getting the player getting extra D6 if they succeed? I both of them just fall under the rule of cool for me, and if it's cool and interesting and adds something to the game, absolutely.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, my answer for that first one, I think in the rule book is yes, because they're natural weapons, so they are still weapons. And
is it the Battle Master feat?
No, it's like a level.
The maneuvers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're a fighter, and you would use your Tabaxi Claws as your Battle Master weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it all just depends on the wording, because 5e works like almost like tags without calling it out for that.
I totally would let that. That's awesome. What are you talking about?
I think you should be able to.
It would be so cool. Yeah. Just be like, I'm a fighter. That'd be
from the mechanic standpoint, it's actually inferior anyway. Like
exactly. You're nerfing yourself, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go for it.
And then the second one, I think don't let the damage get too crazy, and because like at early levels you just destroy everything if you are being cool. But I think if you want to use those extra abilities to make the fight more interesting and just do better in the fight, I think you can add things other than damage, like hindering your opponent, maybe swiping his eye and giving him disadvantage on attack rolls, or just make it a little bit more interesting.
I mean, it's whatever the dungeon master wants. Yeah. If you want to run a game and you want to do that and you think that would be fun, I mean, try it out and go for it. Like,
I remember one of the earlier games that I played a sorcerer, and I had, I think, dancing lights, or like just cast light. And I had a mirror that I was trying to sell. No one would take it. But later on, I was just using this mirror for everything. And I was in a one-on-one combat with an Ankheg, which are really hard to kill when you're at a lower level. So I cast this dancing lights or light into the mirror, and I used it as a reflective surface to blind the Ankheg. And it got disadvantage for like a couple rounds. And fun stuff like that.
If you can be creative with what you're doing in game, if you really want to be like, I want to add investigation to my damage, or I want to add perception to my crossbow hit, like if you think it's interesting, like just go for it. I mean, why not?
It's like looking back on a game where you got to do that wasn't more fun, and if it wasn't, you do it.
I mean, don't break it. Don't make it overpowered, but like, yeah.
I think the idea to me is to make it less about using the skill and more about, what is your character trying to do?
Yes.
Less min-maxing.
Yeah, like if you're swinging from a rope or something, then here, make this check and I'll let something else happen because of it. Or if you're gonna dive off the balcony, with your daggers at somebody, and make this check and we'll see how it works out for you, and then maybe add some extra damage for it, or an effect like you said, maybe you knock them down or whatever. I have one player that always wants to narrate things, and I'm like, well, it's cool, but the game doesn't really work that way.
Right, exactly.
But they're like, hey, I want to drop kick this thing. I'm like, you know what? Okay, you can do that. Make an athletics check.
Drop kick a goblin.
Yeah, you won, so you knocked them down. Now, you have your second attack. They're dead. They're prone. You can take that attack with advantage. You find things like that to add to the game, and
totally
where it's going to enhance them. And you want to reward them for being creative. without encouraging them to be insane all the time.
Yes, exactly. Because then you get into the point of like, well, the dungeon master let me do this, so that means he'll let me do this, and it's like, you gotta find the middle. You gotta find the medium. He's not gonna let you do everything, but if it's cool, if it's interesting, sure.
Right, like if you're doing it and it's going to add like a cool scene to the game, then yes. But if you're doing it because you're looking for a mechanical advantage, that's where you get into the area where eventually you're just going to be wearing on your GM.
Exactly.
And maybe the other players at the table as well.
Yeah, totally.
So we are up on the hour mark, guys. As I said, it was going to go by fast. I want to thank you guys for coming on. Really appreciate it, Logan, Jacob. You guys were fun to talk with. You're welcome back anytime.
Cool.
And I want to thank everyone who's been hanging out with the chat. We've been like above 100 for most of this.
Oh, awesome.
Live in the chat. So that's always really cool. Yeah. So with that, guys, until next time, stay nerdy.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for having us on.
You're very welcome.